Welcome, scholars, again to another presentation in the series of the class on History of the Christian Church, Part 1. May the great God of heaven give us understanding and utterance of words so that we would comprehend accurately events that happened in the past and apply them to today. I must admit, scholars, as we look at our topic for today, impact of Islam on Christianity, I must admit from the very word go that this is one of the hardest realities of life that historically I struggle to just see how this happened. But you know, part of the role of a historian is to narrate the story and not to judge the story. But let me say this, while Gregory the Great is enjoying his being Bishop of Rome, settling in and starting life, while the Christian faith is busy fortifying itself against the collapsing Roman Empire, while the Christian faith is busy fortifying itself against the invading barbarians, the internal conflicts of which the bishop is the supreme among all, and while the entire Christian faith is in their minds trying to fight paganism as they expand, a totally new challenge is born. One that does more harm to Christian faith than the challenges they had met in the past. Islam is born. Just so you might know from the very word go, even as we go into the lesson further, here is reality. Today, as we speak, this religion that we will look at, that impacted the Christian faith in ways only God may understand. Muslims today are at about 21%, close to a quarter of the population of the entire world, while Christianity is at about 33%, a third of the entire population of the world. Keep in mind, all our lessons are in times of context. We've now begun the 590 period, headed to the 800, which is the sector or the section we are now looking at. And during this time, Islam is born. Let me take you to the empire, the Roman Empire, at its greatest extent in about 117 AD. You will see the red endings here depict where the Roman Empire had stretched in its territory. As you look at this map, you obviously see the Jerusalem here, it's part of it. This is where Christianity began to spread, comes to Rome here. But all of this was the Roman Empire. And Christianity is born here, and they're just growing a little. Keep this picture in mind as you now see the picture of the spread of Christianity, which was the official religion of the Roman Empire by 395. Now, this is the extent of Christianity and its spread. Christianity virtually mimics the places that were of the Roman Empire. And it explains because that is the territory that finally the Roman Empire acknowledges Christianity to be its official religion. And so it is all here. Now, I want to make some things here that will become very emotional as we go on in this presentation. Must admit that this is a very emotional subject and intense for that matter. Christianity has taken over. Here is Jerusalem, where Christ was born. Here is where the whole religions play. Here was Rome. Now that is the capital city. And here was Constantinople, this side, where again this entire thing is Christianity. As this is going on, Muhammad is born in 570. By the time Muhammad was born, his father was already dead. In 576, his mother dies. So this is a boy at this time who was only 6 years old, and they are without parents at all. Both the father and the mother are dead. He goes on to stay with his grandfather, who dies 2 years after the mother had died. And so he is virtually now, key people in his life have died. He goes out to live with his uncle. His uncle starts teaching him how to be a merchant, so he becomes one who is just moving about with his uncle in the trades as a merchant. And it's during that time when even his uncle notices that Muhammad distinguishes himself as a good person, as a trustworthy person. In 595, when Muhammad was only 25 years of age, he marries a wealthy woman, very wealthy woman, Khadija, who was 15 years older than Muhammad. So Khadija was 40 years in 595, and this was her third marriage. She was a widow. But Khadija takes in Muhammad, first of all, as an employee, but she immediately sees that he is a reliable person, a trusted person. And so she proposes and they get married. So at this time, psychologically, you can see how meaningful Khadija becomes to Muhammad, who all this time has suffered loss of knowing his own people and his own close relatives. Now, I need to mention at this time, because this is an important part, Muhammad is born in a tribe called the Quraysh tribe. This Quraysh tribe is just one of the tribes in the Arabian Peninsula where people just need a nomadic life. They move from one place to another. They are tribes people. They are tribes people, and he belongs to this tribe. Now, this tribe was settled, and where they had settled, which was in Mecca, they are actually a very influential family, and it is in this city of Mecca where his tribe, where he belonged, the Quraysh tribe, they had a place which was called the Kaaba. And the Kaaba was a place of worship where they had literally hundreds of idols that they regarded as gods and worshipped them. And it was with this context of birth that later on you will see how Muhammad will get in trouble with the Quraysh tribe because of his being now a founder or a preacher of a new faith. And we will come to that. In 610, Muhammad has his first revelation. And that first revelation is profound to him because in that revelation, he hears the voice of God tell him to proclaim in the name of God. Proclaim that there is one God. In this vision, he is made to understand that he is building on the faith of Abraham, on the faith of Moses, and on the faith of Christ Jesus. And he is the last prophet. And so he comes out with this a mono God, that's one God, monotheistic God. He comes out believing in this one God. And the revelations are, go proclaim in the name of this one God. Khadija, who is the wife, becomes the first person to listen to Muhammad's revelation, and the wife believes him. Muhammad himself does not believe whether this is really or it's just under confusion, and so they consult. The wife actually, it's believed, took him to a Christian friend who told him that, no, you are a prophet. And so Muhammad coming out believing he is a prophet of God, building on the other faiths that of the Hebrew people who believed in one God, Christ, and the generations of this Moses faith. Now, in 619, Khadija dies. That is just 9 years in the midst of these revelations. Now Muhammad was having more revelations from God. It is said that in 620, he took a night journey. A night journey where he left Mecca, where he was at that time, and walked or traveled, as we would say, up to Jerusalem, where it is believed he had a vision where he was taken to heaven and he saw, as it were, and talked to the prophets of old, the Elijahs, the Moses, the prophets who were there. So he now in this night journey over which he ascends to heaven and sees this, when he comes back now, he now is fully convinced that he is then a messenger of God, the last prophet to go out. In 622, there is a migration to Medina. This migration to Medina happens, we are told, because there was a group in Medina, close to Medina, that had heard and had begun believing in Muhammad, and so they kind of needed someone to give them leadership and also to strengthen them spiritually. Muhammad accepts. And when they leave there, then there is this come together, which strengthens them and makes them now a growing faith, a stronger community. And in the meantime, keep in mind, scholars, that he is preaching a one God. He's preaching the faith of this one God, not the gods, not the idols. And so he goes into a confrontation, by belief, with the Quraysh tribe, where he grew up and where they knew him, but now he is preaching a faith that's different from their faith. Different from their faith. So this does not sit well with them. And as a result of this, a series of wars, about 3 wars, take place between 624 and 627, in which the Quraysh tribe engages in a war with the followers of Muhammad who were in Medina. And even though the group that followed Muhammad was maybe a third, and in some instances less than a third, of the total number of the opposing army from the Quraysh people, it happened that in all the three wars, Muhammad won the wars, Muhammad and his followers. And gathering convictions from this, that then they were, this faith that was being led by Allah, by God, this one faith, and the new faith now, they come out strong. And in 630, they march from Medina to Mecca, and they take over Mecca. And obviously, when Mecca is taken over, that's where they had the Kaaba, a place of worship with a lot of idols by the Quraysh tribe. Muhammad is believed to have destroyed those gods and established now Mecca and Kaaba as the central place now for this new faith. Now, when you look at all these events have happened just like that, just like that. This is about 60 years. These events have happened. In 632, Muhammad dies. When Muhammad dies, as we said, today Islam is almost a quarter of the population of the world, and it's the greatest challenge to Christianity, at least then, if not even now. But now look at this. Look at the spread. If you remember the map of the Roman Empire and the map of the Christian Empire, Christian community, which was almost a replica of the Roman Empire, look at what happens by the people who now lived after Muhammad was dead. From 632 to 661, which is just about 30 years, this faith spreads from Mecca. Look at the map and see how it spreads from Mecca. They start conquering. They conquer the Arabia here. They conquer Egypt here. They conquer Tunisia. They conquer Jordan. And when they conquer Jordan, which is close to, they conquer Jerusalem. They conquer Antioch. They conquer the Persian Empire. They conquer the Byzantine Empire. They go to India and conquer India. They go to Pakistan and conquer Pakistan. And by 750 AD, they had taken over the entire North Africa. When you think of that, and you realize that that was North Africa, was the stronghold, and that entire Jerusalem was the stronghold, the birth of Christianity, you definitely can see why I said, if Christianity ever met challenges, this one was the biggest of them all. How did Islam do all this? Several reasons are given. One, that Allah was helping them, that God gave them the power to conquer. And some historians believe nomadic people carried the message of Muhammad. By the way, Muhammad wrote the Quran, which now became the last testament, which was the book like the Bible, but now to be used by the Muslims. And so that the nomadic people carried this, and it went out and it spread. There was also peaceful contact with Islamic people as they went through trade. Sometimes it was tribal conversions. Sometimes powerful leaders who were Muslims would influence others to believe. In some instances, there was the element of fight them and conquer them to make them Muslims. As we come to the end of this, one of the things that you and I realize is how this entire faith, or this entire movement or believing community, has now taken over some of the most stronghold of Christian faith. Carthage, along the northern part of Africa, Alexandria, Cairo, places that had bishops. Christianity was almost brought to zero. To this day, those are places where Christianity is hardly in existence. You find the same when you come to the Jerusalem. This entire area has. Now, in our future lessons, we will learn how by the 750, what exactly happened and brought to a halt or to a stop the Muslim faith. As we close, as a student of history, one of the things that you keep in mind and think about is that as Christianity pulled through the timeline of activities and of its existence, it met those things that threatened its existence, one of which was the Islamic faith. Till we meet for another lecture, blessings of the Lord.